Ladies and gentlemen, these are my chart analysis glasses right here. These are the magical glasses that when I put these on, it is time to study some charts. And you're going to be seeing a lot more of these here in the Traders podcast. But not today. We're not looking at any charts here in this brand new episode of the Traders podcast. But what we are going to do is have a conversation with a great friend of mine, Mr. Jake Moore of pushbuttontrading.co. Jake was actually one of my first students when I started teaching trading early in my trading career. He left behind his W-2 job at Boeing to become a full-time trader. And now he works at pushbuttontrading.co. He trades full times, and he shifted over from trading stocks to now trading futures. And so he's going to share his unique perspective on his journey, how it has all played out, some advice for aspiring traders. And again, Jake is a great human being, retired military personnel, worked at Boeing, full-time trader, and now he's doing something cool with automated trading using what are known as trading bots. And so I'm excited for you to check out this conversation here with Jake Moore on the Traders Podcast, and let me know what you think of the glasses. All right. And no Ask a Trader this week, no Mr. Roku this week. This is just all about Jake. So check it out here, Mr. Jake Moore, pushbuttontrading.co. Enjoy and happy Memorial Day. All right, everybody, I have a very special guest on the show today, the Traders Podcast, and it's none other than Mr. Jake Moore, my great friend. Jake and I really got into trading kind of close time range. He's an amazing dude, amazing husband, father, trader, and I'm excited to have him on the Traders Podcast. Jake, how are you this fantastic May Friday?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be a blessing. I appreciate the kind words, Jeremy, because it has been an incredible journey. I guess our relationship dates back to January of 2023, and here we are, May of 2024. And you talk about the sweeping, drastic this industry, how it has evolved, in the last 18 months has been incredible. But it's just made the journey that much more exciting. So
yeah.
Appreciate
Fantastic.
it.
Yeah, no, glad to have you on the show. And really, what's unique about Jake's story is that he went from the W-2 world, transitioned over to trading full time, actually became a coach. We worked together and started trading stocks, but has since shifted over into futures. And Jake, a lot of our viewers, subscribers, people who watch the podcast are just starting out with trading. But if you could talk about that transition that you made from working a W-2 job to becoming a full-time trader, how that worked for you. I'm sure that it was scary, but just kind of talk us through how that process worked and what were maybe some takeaways and lessons from that.
Oh, absolutely. Wow, I just doing talking about January 2023, and here we are, middle of 2024. That's causing me to pause for a second. Where does the time go? But Jeremy, it was excellent. I've got some, things set up that made it a little bit easier for me. And what I mean by that is did do a full 20 years military service, so have some retirement, income coming there, and that obviously I think is number one, when you want to make a transition from, part-time trading to become consistently profitable, to generate some cash flow to full-time, where it's your primary gig. It's very important to ensure you got some cash flow coming in, because then you enjoy the journey. Whenever I get to a situation where I have to be successful on something, well, the joy is not there, and generally fear can kind of come in and take over a little bit, and not as prosperous. So bottom line, having some cash flow coming in regardless of trading, I think is number one. So I had that military background, and then uh, and a lot of coaching, mentorship as a senior, kind of field grade warrant officer, in the service. So coaching has just always been my passion, mentoring, teaching others.
Mhm.
And I transitioned over into Boeing as I retired from the military. And I was working with Boeing as a senior maintenance manager working on a weapons system up here in the interior of Alaska when you and I met. And we really, well, your instruction, your mentorship, and really teaching me is like, hey, follow the process, trust the process, mitigate risk. You can stay in it for the long haul. And it's so that sold me because I'd failed at day trading two other times prior
Mhm.
to, back in 2007, 8. I actually got in it right before the market crashed, the 2008. So good timing there, right? Then again, like in 2017, and really epic fail. Um, but when you was able to coach me through and understand how we have protective orders, we've got stop losses, we've got playbooks, we've got rules we go by, and it's all designed to be in the long haul,
Mhm.
regardless of maybe background that you have, or some folks, are a little more natural than others. But even if it takes you a little longer than maybe the average, what I really enjoyed with kind of your coaching and mentorship, and where I really went all in, is like, I'm in this for the long haul. If I
Mhm.
could just say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no,
Mhm.
sir, which is my playbook.
Yeah.
I don't violate those rules. And here I am 18 months later. Actually, we're approaching 12 months since I've exited my W-2 job,
Mhm.
you know. And so being able to kind of coach with you, our RYD client base, also generate some other income, but being able to teach something is learning it twice. You know,
Mhm.
Teaching something is the greatest teacher, so uh, and so I throw that in there because the transition to go full-time trading is I'm a full-time student. you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
to be successful at trading, I literally am still a full-time student,
Yes.
of learning this industry. And this is what really is amazing since in the last 12 months is when we look at what is available for U.S. citizens today through funded account programs. Because
Mhm.
I actually had my own U.S. Broker account, when you and I started. And then as I learned more about the industry and some of the funded account opportunities out there, I went ahead and transitioned to solely funded accounts. And then I
Mhm.
took money from it was actually IBKR. I took those funds and I actually invested them in a self-directed IRA and some other assets.
Mhm.
And I went all in. Of course, I did all that before FINRA SEC said, hey, it's no longer legal for U.S. citizens to trade the CFDs, or the contract for difference, via the
Mhm.
prop firms.
Right.
So I've had I look at it as a blessing in disguise, but I've really been able to, or kind of been forced. But what I've learned, Jeremy, from the beginning of this year, now 2024, utilizing the funded account opportunities, um, and then being kind of having to learn the futures industry.
Mhm.
That is another game changer, but it's if you have a solid foundation and being able to trade U.S. equities, understanding support and resistance, trend is your friend,
Mhm.
um, specific strategies that you execute consistently, the transition over to, Forex or futures, even crypto, the foundation is the same.
Like
It's
like we were saying before we got on here, if it's got a chart, it's got a heart, right? And if you could read a chart, you could trade anything. And that's the beautiful component of this is it's not just equities, right? It's the
yeah,
futures market, it's crypto, it's Forex, right? And it's all available to us. And you know, the fact that you shifted over from stocks to futures just shows that, you know, your path as a trader, you know, sometimes you're going to have, you know, some divergence. You're going to go in a different way. You start here, hey, I'm a stock trader, but you know what? 6 months later, you might be a futures trader. And futures can be just as profitable, if not more, than trading stocks.
In a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, futures are a derivative, you know, of the stocks, you know, primarily the indices. And futures has its own history, and there's the commodities, there's the U.S. equity indices, you know, like the NASDAQ 100, you know, the S&P 500. Those are probably your two primary U.S. equity futures
Mm-hmm.
assets that a lot of folks trade. Um, and I don't know if I ever trade, you know, I mean, I've traded, be careful what I say here, but I will be looking at the Qs. I am tracking the earnings, you know, look at NVIDIA the other day. Okay. Imagine how that's going to impact a US equity index
Mm-hmm.
slash the futures derivative of
Mm-hmm.
that. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. So, you know, as far as the U.S. equities go, tracking the Qs and the whatever sector's hot, you know, whatever sector, you know, if it's making up, you know, like the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P, you know, those tech stocks, those movers, you know, tracking those U.S. equities is part of preparing to enter and manage a trade within a futures you know, construct. So understanding both worlds is key.
Yeah.
When you know, Jerry Powell speaks, you know, news, and I will share this is a negative thing. I'm kind of starting over with some of the funded accounts I had because I lost. I had some funded accounts. I had a good stop protection order in there, but I lost sight of the news one day, and I had to stop. It actually blew up 5 accounts, you know, just like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so back to the drawing board, and like in a couple of days, I stood away. It's like, how could I prevent that? And I went back because it happened twice, um, and it was a lack of discipline
Mm-hmm.
of not putting up, hey, when are the news speaking? You know, get out of the trade at that point. You know, manage. That's how we manage risk. You know, we don't
Yep.
want to trade. You know, at least your primary accounts. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, you got to watch the news and earnings. You've got to understand earnings reports when they come out, even if we're dealing with futures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so some lessons learned, but it's the same stuff that you had taught me a year and a half ago. I mean, hey, what are the catalysts? You know, you've got to be watching these news, respect the news,
Mm-hmm.
you know, be careful around earnings. You know, it's very volatile, you
Yeah.
know, and then again, having your protective orders in there, you know, take your profits off the table when they're there and minimize your risk by those stops. But I mean, it's such a natural migration. You know, it wasn't a drastic sweeping to go from the U.S. equities over the futures. The foundation was laid, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with the time you and I'd spent together
Yeah.
that all of last year. Really, it set it up. So,
So Jake, looking back on that, what advice would you have for people aspiring who are starting out, who are learning how to trade? What advice would you give them? Maybe three key points to really focus on as they are learning to one day transition out of W-2 full-time job to being a full-time trader.
that's a great question. I'm affiliated, well, not affiliated. I work a lot with, I support because I love the business model of the push button
Mm-hmm.
trading.co. It's all one word, push button trading.co. And I love their model and I resonate with it.
Mm-hmm.
And brand new traders, folks interested in getting into this industry, it really starts with education,
Mm-hmm.
training. You know, it's low cost. I mean, really, there's so much good trading out there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's like push button trading.co. They've got really three different customer bases,
Mhm.
that is just ideal, for the company. One being, hey, 0 to 6 months, brand new trader. It's all about mentorship, coaching, trading. There's a
Mhm.
lot of free classes, but hey, what makes up a candle, on a
Mhm.
chart? What
Yeah.
is a hammer? What is an inverted hammer? Support and resistance. Learning, because again, through our coaching experience, the first thing I share with new clients is, hey, over the next 90 days, we're going to rewire your brain, to
Mhm.
think and look at a chart completely different than you probably look at one today. Because a
Mhm.
lot of folks, when they look at a chart on day one, it means very little,
Mhm.
and then you and I could sit there and talk about one chart, nonstop for 30 minutes to an hour. And they're
Yeah.
like, well, where do you get all that? Because it's a book, it's a story,
Yes.
looking left. What has historically price done? And it may give us some ideas of what's going to happen in the near future. Um, but but education and training, and understanding, start developing that playbook, gain the confidence, and understanding how the market does behave,
Mhm.
because we're just joining the market. We're not manipulating the market. We're not expecting the market to do anything, but we're going to enter the market with an edge from education.
Mhm.
So 0 to 6 months, I think it's about training, it's education. Not really going to risk any funds, not going to risk any money.
Yep.
There's no need. And then you start looking at that maybe 6 months to 2 years. So this is where um, I believe a lot of new traders, hey, let's target maybe that 6 month, and push button trading.co is really good, because now this is where we got some. I grew up my entire adult life utilizing technology. I
Mhm.
love, automation technology, formulas within Excel spreadsheets. Push button trading.co, has some semi-automated bots and fully automated bots.
Mhm.
Okay. I like the fully automated because it's just a way to scale my own business,
Mhm.
utilize, some of the funded accounts for futures as accounts that are, uh, they've got one account. I utilize a fully automated bot. There's specific strategies for each bot that the push button trading.co offers. And so I just manage the settings and let the bot, you know, trade around the clock. And I just kind of manage it from a distance.
Mhm.
That gives me an ability to get away from my computer, scale my business. And just utilizing technology is just fun, Jeremy. It's
Yeah.
just fun
And,
to
and
utilize it that way. Then
and
the
for the viewers,
semi-automated
Jake, real
is
fast, for the viewers who don't know what a bot is, because some of them may have never heard of a bot before, can you just give a quick explanation of what a trading bot is?
absolutely. A trading bot is, it's basically your strategy is defined in code. It's a software plugin essentially within a trading platform.
Mhm.
And where I essentially do the majority of my trading today is within the Ninja Trader 8 platform, because push button trading.co has now migrated that platform, which used to be MetaTrader 5. And again, that was prior to, FINRA/SEC banning U.S. citizens, from trading the contract for difference, or the CFDs, that derivative of the
Mhm.
U.S. equities. So that kind of big force a change there. But these bots are just really software plugins within a trading platform. Your
Mhm.
strategy for trading is inherent in that bot. So
Mhm.
it might be a opening range breakout strategy. Well, there is a bot, that does that. And
Mhm.
so you pick a particular asset, you study and you back test, zero risk. Hey, on these particular days, hey, at this particular time, on this particular chart, 2 minute, 5 minute, 30 minute, hey, over the past 4 months, what was my maximum drawdown, and what was my would have been, my profit, and then You just got to run some optimization tests to where you drill down to where you protect your maximum drawdown and you have an acceptable max profit or net profit, spread out over the time. And so these bots, you turn them on, they're running on your computer platform. That's up and running and it automates. In other words, you don't even have to be present when you're going to get entered into a trade. You will have your stop loss automatically placed for you based on where you're comfortable as a trader. Are you risking, $100 or $500 or $1,000? You predetermine that from the beginning. And even though you're not present with the trade, if it goes against you, you're fine with losing whatever risk that you've configured. At the same time, your profit, your order is going to execute, and you're going to take your profit if you hit your target. While you're not even there. So that's kind of the fully automated bot, and the semi-automated bot is kind of cool again for relatively new traders because you could utilize the push button bot, which is semi. It requires us as traders to interact with that, but it's a calculator all in one. Based on the size of the candle proceeding, it determines exactly how many futures contracts, how many shares. It determines exactly where your take profit is going to be, what price it's going to exit the trade with a profit. If you determine 1.2, 1.5, 2.0, 3.0 reward, at the same time, and your risk, it'll take you out. So you got the semi-automated bot for those who are actively engaged in trading. And then you got the fully automated bot as a whole, just utilizing automation and a different way to scale your business. I want to travel, take off for a couple weeks and really not able to trade every day. Well, the bots kind of continue doing it in the meantime. So just a joy.
Yeah. So it's a different type of trading that's out there. It's automated push button. So just to kind of summarize for advice for newer traders, education is the first one. Training. I don't know where that thumbs up sign came from. That just came out of nowhere. So those are two. What would be the third there, Jake? Piece of advice for
the third one is where we start getting more advanced. Okay, so now you're consistently profitable. You understand order flow, you understand price action. You can have a conversation, with U.S. equities and futures, support, resistance, trend. But now we start hitting that more advanced. Who wants more? You've been in the industry now. You've got a playbook, a trading plan, and so now you start going into options. You start going into copy trading, and that's where I'm at right now. And so copy trading, what does that mean? Copy trading is nothing more than having one account that I trade out of. And I've got multiple accounts that put into a copy trader. So I only trade one account, but what happens in that one account is identical across how many other accounts, up to like with one prop firm or funded account company that I utilize, ATF.com or Apex, you can have up to 20 different accounts in a copy trader. So utilizing the copy trader, I just still focus on one account. I reduce my R, Jeremy. This is one of the things I really enjoy, kind of about this kind of the transition where I'm going through is I've learned to slow it down to speed it up, and that's probably my number one coaching philosophy and trading philosophy to this day. But when we start looking at more advanced, what can folks do down the road once they've had their education and training, and then they've got some just basic, semi-automated or manual trading experience with now some consistency. We want to see all our students and prospective, future traders, hey, how can we help them get to consistently profitable, in the shortest amount of time? and it may take, 6 months to 18 months to even longer for some. But
Mhm.
that's when we start going more advanced. They have that the foundation laid. And so basically got 20 accounts in a copy trader platform. I trade in one. What happens in one happens in the other 20 accounts.
Mhm.
That scales the business, and to slow it down, to speed it up, philosophy that I really share with all the people that I get the opportunity to mentor and coach is just understanding the power of an R, and I utilize 1% of a 100K account kind of as a baseline.
Mhm.
Um, but what I've learned is the power of even 0.35 of that R over time. When you average that over time, Jeremy, you realize, 0.35 of a 1000 R, like a 100K account, you're looking at 1.5 months, you're funded.
Mhm.
A lot of folks, they're going for that full R every day. If they don't get the full R, well, a lot of times they're in the hole. I've learned the transition I've kind of went through is when I'm positive and I'm gains may even unrealized. It's very important to take those gains, and I'm
Mhm.
and I'm a lot more stingy with a drawdown. You
Mhm.
know, um, because again, when we start dealing with futures or Nasdaq 100, things can move against us so quick.
Mhm. Yep.
But that 0.3 R, 35 R approach, slowing it down to speed it up, and even cut that in half. I've even done the math and shared with, hey, what is even a 0.175 R, $175 average do? Well, then you're talking less than 3 months, you're funded.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, I go back to when we first started working together, you had your point six strategy, right? And I told you that, and I always say this too, that when the market's going to pay you, take the money. And sure, there are times when you're going to let your winners run if you see the momentum in the candles, and obviously you can capitalize on that. But I think you're absolutely right that slow down in order to go fast or in order to survive in this world long term. Because if you're too in a hurry to get funded or to make a full R, the market will wreck you. And speaking
Mhm.
from experience, I can, right? But you're right. You don't need to capture that full R. Point 0.3, point 0.6, point 0.5. You do that over the course of the month. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it does add up, and a lot of folks would kind of argue that, say it's like, well, then it just takes one loser to kind of erase all those small wins. Absolutely. But this is where, uh, especially with futures, they move so quick, is I'm nowhere near a full 1000 R loss, never even come close to
Mhm.
accepting that.
Right.
Out pretty quick,
Yeah.
small. In other words, my losses actually are smaller than my gains. My gains usually at the end of the day are bigger.
Right. And that's a
So it's a
recipe.
different,
Yeah. Recipe
that
for
holding
success.
muscle that we used to talk about, or
Hmm.
getting in above an opposite colored candle or below an opposite colored candle, for that trap. All that stuff extremely valuable. However, what I'm finding out with the futures is like doing a lot more buy limit, sell limit type orders,
Hmm.
because by the time I get back, to the bottom or the top of that preceding candle, I may have, already profits for the day locked in, or 10-point move, within a futures contract. And so again, I just say that to say, hey, there are unlimited different strategies out there. We don't want to chase every shiny thing. Don't just
Hmm.
go on to YouTube and say, I like that strategy, and then start putting real money in it. You have to back trade it. You have to gain confidence. And how I trade today is a lot different than how you and I traded together,
Hmm.
6 months, let alone a year ago. But again, going back to your initial question, training and education, that phase two, 6 months, to 2 years, execute a consistent strategy.
Hmm.
Don't don't change it up. You got to give yourself, hey, minimum of like 200 trades. is
Yeah.
what, and again, I'm kind of hijacking. That's the philosophy of the push button trading.co is like, hey, 200 simulated trades, before you ever put real money in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I resonate with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Uh, but just being consistent with, and maybe you got two different strategies or maybe three because market conditions,
Mm-hmm.
when things are going sideways, I trade a little bit different than if I'm in a trend.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Trend is always the best, but there are ways to, again, that 0.175 or 0.3 R, it's available within a futures multiple times every day, regardless of what the market's doing.
Yeah.
That's another beautiful thing about trading equities or futures. And futures is 23 hours, 5 days a week,
Yeah.
So
And I think that's a key point that you make there too. And I often stress this with students that I'm working with is that you're exactly right. You have to stick with the strategy and you have to do it over and over and over again. And the reason why is because if something's not working, but you don't have a consistent strategy, you're not going to be able to put your finger on what you're doing wrong. And so you have to control every variable that you can and not
mhm.
change anything because at the end of the month, when you're reflecting on your plan and you make an adjustment, you need to be able to point to, all right, this impacted my success or this hurt me. So I think that that's great advice to people getting into trading or who are trading. You have to be consistent with your strategy. You can't be chasing the shiny new object. So Jake, we're coming up here on a half an hour. So I got just two more questions for you. One is going to be about just the markets that we're in right now, everything that's happening. We hit new all-time highs last week off of a cooler CPI report than expected. We had a little bit of a sell down yesterday. Everybody panicked. It's like a soap opera out there.
Yeah.
How do you see the market playing out the rest of this year? Do you see us continuing to climb to new all-time highs? What's your take on the broader markets?
I'm that's a great question. And I actually ask myself that every morning before I boot up my computer.
Mhm.
Because I am amazed that we continue to make all-time highs. It doesn't make fundamentally, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me when I kind of, bigger picture, state of the union, kind of looking at that. There's just some things that aren't adding up. But as a day trader and short-term trader, that doesn't matter as much as what is the market doing right now, and it's bullish. So I like yesterday's pullback. I mean, again, we're still extended way above a 10 EMA on a daily time frame.
Mm-hmm.
We're very extended. Yesterday to me was absolutely normal, and actually I had an edge going into yesterday because kind of expected a pullback.
Mm-hmm.
Then look at today, it's rebounding right back. It's been about an hour since I've looked at it, but it was before you and I started talking. So I have every reason to believe bullish.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we get into the second half of the year, particularly the fourth quarter, again, it's a significant year, election year.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a lot of optimism, with potential elections, where they could go this year? Is that, holding anything up? Obviously, the AI, the tech industry is just really the locomotive, the engine, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
kind of driving everything right now. So a lot of optimism, I guess. I'm very optimistic, because of how things have been the last couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and there's really no sign of it letting up. We don't
Yeah.
really have anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive, and I can't explain how, other than this tech industry is got something going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very optimistic for the year,
Yeah.
but going to be very, very, when we start trading all new highs, I'm looking for those pullbacks
Yep.
and buy low, get in, and I'm in cash at the end of the day, which is also positive. And then as we go into the fourth, the second half of the year, particularly the fourth quarter, that'll be very interesting. But again, I'm bullish. I'm
Yep.
bullish.
Yeah, that's the whole election year phenomenon. If I've talked about seasonality and the stock traders almanac that typically in presidential election years you see greater returns because the sitting president is trying to pump the market to make people think the economy is good. That's just one take on things out there. So my whole take has been I'm gonna ride this wave up until November before the election, try to be 100% in cash, and then whatever happens from there, I'll deploy my capital appropriately. So, but Jake, this has been great stuff. Just to close this out, you talked about Push Button Co. Trading, which is the company that you're with right now. Just talk a little bit about that, where people can find that, and I'll put some information in the show notes.
Yeah, sounds great. And again, it's pushbuttentrading.co. And the we kind of did talk about it a lot. Again, that their number one philosophy is that ongoing whole person coaching mentorship. It goes well beyond just learning the basics of trading and education. But there's health and wellness in there. There's retirement. It's a free community to join. Where a lot of that's not so much coaches and mentors that are, in that free community, but it's a great start to get ask some questions, and a lot of other push button clients, may respond to those, but there is a kind of a subscription service to where you really get the persistent coaching and mentorship for some excellent coaches that they have within Push Button Trading .co. So again, it's just their philosophy of whole person, personal development, the psychology of trading, the different platforms, how to integrate the platforms, a good education on different prop firms, the different specs, what is different between one prop firm and another. And if you are trading U.S. equities, you have your own accounts, how you integrate that with, the push button technology. And again, that's just one part of the business, because you can just actually do your own manual trades. It's not just the semi-automated and the fully automated bots, but it is specific strategies. They've got a hammer strategy, an indecision candle, and then of course the bots, but they have specific classes where they teach one strategy, and the goal is, okay, you're going to pay for this one class, master this one strategy, and then be consistently profitable with that one there. Use some gains from that to continue your education, obtain coaching and mentorship, learn another strategy.
Yeah.
So it's focusing on the whole person concept. And what do you do as a consistent, profitable trader? What are you going to do with your money? That education is there. That support network is in place. And so it's a really a pretty neat community. I resonate with their philosophy, and it's really about how do we answer the questions that a lot of new traders, and how do we provide something for the seasoned trader?
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat company, relatively new, got pretty much kicked off toward the end of last year. And then again, with the FINRA changes, the SEC, when U.S. citizens no longer can trade the CFDs, it just caused a rewriting of that entire company, and they're very independent and have responded extremely well to all these changes. And I think it's just an incredible place to get started, receive the right coaching and mentorship, and at low cost, and it's safe. It's safe.
Awesome. So pushbuttentrading.co. We'll have that linked in the show notes, so you can learn more all about that. You can learn about Jake and what he offers at Push Button. But Jake, really appreciate you coming on the Traders Podcast here. Our paths are forever connected. And, I wish you nothing but success moving forward. And we got to hop on and trade together. We haven't done that in quite a while.
Absolutely. Yeah, I took a little sabbatical for about 3 weeks and didn't trade. And this week, actually, I'm back on the saddle and getting back into a normal routine. Daughter just graduating from high school, a lot of traveling. I was out of town for some medical, but I'm back to normal and kind of fired up. So
Awesome.
we're going to carve out a time very soon, Jeremy. And let's just like old times.
All
Look
right,
forward to it.
Jake. I'm gonna hold you to that, and appreciate you being on here today. Please let Jake know in the comments how much you appreciated everything that you shared with him. Again, check out pushbuttontrading.co. It's linked in the show notes. Like and subscribe, and we will see you back here next time on the Traders Podcast. Jake, have a great Memorial Day weekend.
You too, brother. It was always
All right.
it's always a joy to spend some time with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care, Jake.